Now your descending fathers, Brian Sommerfield and Randy Bishop.
Hey, welcome back on this beautiful Tuesday morning. Got a special guest on the phone with us right now. Calling in is Ron Weiser, and welcome to the program.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Hey, good morning, Ron. It's Randy.
Randy, how are you?
Good, sir.
I want to tell you I'm really honored that you and Brian would let me come on your show, and you be the first ones, and your audience be the first ones to know that I have made a decision after talking to a lot of the leadership of the Republican Party, as well as those who love freedom and liberty, and many Tea Party leaders and national leaders like Rand Paul and Scott Walker and Alan West, all of whom have said that they would endorse my candidacy for U of M Regent, and so I'm really honored to be able to have you be the first place where I announce that. And I am announcing that I will be running for Regent. I hope that I'm able to get the support of all the broad variety of leadership from across the state that I worked with so hard in 2010 for the huge conservative victory that we had, and I look forward to doing that again for 2014.
Very good. Well, we appreciate you calling in and making the announcement here on Patriot Voice. One of the things that, in anticipation of your call this morning, I wanted the audience to know a little bit about your background and your commitment not only to U of M, but some of the things that you've done in the Republican Party over the many years you've been involved.
Well, thank you, Randy, and I think you know many of those things. I've been involved with conservative politics and the Republican Party for a lot of years, going back to the early 1990s when then Governor Engler brought me into that process from my business, Kicking and Screaming, because I was a business guy. I started it when I was in college in 1967 and built it into a sizable business and understood the opportunity that this country gives to people who start with nothing, but with hard work and dedication can build a future for themselves and their families. And I wanted to make sure that others had that opportunity too, because I saw it slowly slipping away from us as it continues to slip away now. Freedom to have a better life for yourself and your family is something really important in America, and I want to continue to work for that. So I worked on a variety of presidential campaigns and gubernatorial campaigns, and then in 2006, 2005, when Dick DeVos was running for governor, I became finance chair for the party to help him, hopefully to take it away from Granholm. We failed, but then in 2007, I worked with Dick on right to work and thought we might be able to get it on the ballot in 2008. That didn't work out, but I became the party chair, and of course, with the victory we had in 2010, it gave us that opportunity, and that's when we had that formula for success that worked in 2010, and that's the conservative ground troops and grassroots working together with the party supplying the air, and the ground troops providing that knocking on doors and that making the phone calls and doing all that hard work that turns into victory. And we used that same formula in 2012 to defeat Prop 2 and to win right to work, which was a monumental, transformational thing for the future of our state. So I was proud to be a part of that, and also at the same time I was the national finance chair for the Republican Party, and we raised lots of money. Unfortunately, we lost that election to Obama, but we didn't lose because of money, and it's unfortunate that we didn't, but we got a future in front of us, and we can't let there be another President Clinton. One of those was enough.
Absolutely. Well, one of the things that the audience needs to know, too, back in 2010, you were initially in the race for this U of M Regent position that you just announced here that you're going to seek again in 14. And one of the things that I personally wanted to thank you for and make sure our audience is aware of it was that once you realized that Bob King, the UAW president, was going to push forward on putting Proposal 2 on the ballot, which would have changed our Constitution here in Michigan, banning right to work basically, and guaranteeing collective bargaining forever in our Constitution, you stood up and you said, listen, the party needs to raise a lot of money to fight this thing with radio and TV ads. You took yourself out of that U of M race so that you could devote your time fully to raising the money to defeat that proposal. And honestly, Ron, without you doing that, I don't think we would have had the resources to defeat that ballot proposal, and we may not have had right to work passed in Michigan.
As you know, that was probably the worst job-killing constitutional amendment or even piece of legislation that any of us have ever seen. And yeah, you're right. In the spring of 2012, it looked like that it was going to make it on, and by the time we hit the summer, it was pretty clear. And so I dropped out after having spent about 3 or 4 months running, and teamed up with others, and with Dick DeVos and others, conservative leadership across the state, to make sure that we could give the air cover to all that hard work being done by the Tea Party movement and the grassroots and the party and all the others who came together to really not just win, but to win big and pave the way for right to work. I mean, both of those things were important. One was winning and winning, and not allowing that amendment to go through, but second was a platform for right to work, and of course we were able to pass that.
Right. Now, one of the things that you were running on back in 10, when you dropped out, Dan Horning and Rob Steele were defeated, unfortunately, to get a spot there at the U of M Regent, and we got other, I'm going to call them socialists, elected to the U of M board. I'm sorry, but Bernstein and the other folks, I look at the dynamic of that board, Ron. What is it that you're hoping to accomplish by running for Regent when you get elected this time around? What is it that you're going to try to implement or to be able to offer as a counter to what their agenda is down there at the U of M?
Well, first of all, I believe that this can be our year again. I really believe that going back to that same combination of having the resources for the air war and having an enthused grassroots and Tea Party group across the state working hard to get the vote out, that we can win these educational board races, which we've lost for the last several years. If we do, we have the ability in both Michigan State, and in the State Board of Education to go to 4-4 by winning both those seats, and we can block with these, as you pointed out, socialists. But I think you're being nice. In some cases, I think that communism might be the right word, but with some of the things that they've been doing, and one of them that's most important to me is to prevent our universities from finding ways around right to work, just as they tried to find ways around some of the other constitutional amendments that have been passed, such as one making sure that there's equal opportunity for all races, black, white, yellow, all races to have an equal chance to get into the university. They will find ways to try to fight right to work, and we need to stop that. I also believe that our kids coming to the U of M need to understand the Constitution of the United States, and a class on the Constitution should be something that either they can show that they have that knowledge or they should be taking that kind of a class. And I think you know my background, of course, Randy, and I built a business for 34 years before I went off as a U.S. ambassador to Central Europe just after 9/11, and I learned there what freedom was all about because I saw people who had none. And those skills learned in that 34 years, I think, can help me reduce the funding to the university from Michigan taxpayers and lower in-state tuition by controlling the costs of the huge bureaucracy that runs that school. I mean, what bureaucracy have you ever seen that you can't save 5% or 10% from, and with a budget as large as that's $300 to $600 million. That's more that we could considerably lower in-state tuition, which we should do, and at the same time we can reduce the amount of money that the state gives to the university. And that's something that's just not being done at any of the universities. I mean, we got a bunch of attorneys on that board now, and me bringing my business experience, I think, will be a huge opportunity to start looking at the numbers and talking about ways to cut the costs. And finally, they recently passed, and that's because the Democrats had control. The two Republicans voted against it, giving in-state tuition to illegal immigrants. And let's face it, the taxpayers in Michigan are who support that school and who helped build it. And the parents of these kids are just like out-state students. Their parents aren't paying income taxes in Michigan, and I just don't see any reason at all we shouldn't be fighting to get that policy changed.
Absolutely.
And,
one of the other components about that, along those lines, Ron, is I think I read somewhere, and you can verify this for us or not, that 51% of the freshman class are foreign students, and that Michigan students here from our own state, like you said, people who contribute taxes to support the school, are a minority as far as who gets accepted into U of M.
I haven't heard that statistic, but that's exactly the kind of thing that I'm talking about. We need to make those changes and give the opportunity to the taxpayers of Michigan to send their students, their kids, to the schools in this state that they've helped pay for. And by the way, when they get to those schools, and especially at the U of M, we have to work tirelessly to pass on the value of freedom and conservative values to these kids, because the professors there, as you know, seem to control the agenda, and they. I hate to say this because there was a as you might remember, or maybe you don't because it's a little bit before you, but if you remember, Governor Romney running for president said that he was brainwashed. But I'm afraid that these young kids are, if you like, they may not be getting brainwashed, but they're not being exposed to the other side and the understanding the value of freedom and conservative values. And I want to make sure that at least they have that opportunity on campus to hear others. I mean, we worked hard, and I worked with the Regents to get our minority leader, and our majority leader, Cantor, to the campus. And of course, he was treated rudely, as they always do. But at least the 600 or 700 kids there got a chance to hear about conservative values, and we have to do a lot more than that. We got to bring a lot of people to the campus and make sure they're not just listening to the socialist side; they get to listen to the conservative side too.
Well, one of the things here in northern Michigan, just to give you a perspective on where we're coming from, Ron, one of the things that just drives us absolutely crazy is catering to these special interest groups. And I got a comment here from one of our listeners on Facebook. Wants to know, how does Ron stand on special amenities for Islamic students like foot baths at the University of Michigan?
I think all kids should be treated exactly the same, and those who want special rights or issues should do so through private organizations, as has been done for years at the university. The university shouldn't be doing those sorts of things. I think people have to supply their own things. I mean, if you're Jewish, they don't give you menorahs, or give you any kinds of special areas for prayers. If you're Catholic, they're not giving you anything special. There's no reason why any religious group should have preferential treatment different from the rest of the kids in the university.
Especially provided, like you say, by the university with university funds.
Absolutely not. They have the perfect ability to do these things through private groups and organizations, and I believe in the rule of law and freedom of religion, and they should be allowed to do so just as every other kid is. But I can tell you that for years and years, and when I was at the university in the 60s and all the way through to today, many of the groups, the Catholic groups, the Jewish groups, and the others, they have their own facilities where they provide those kinds of things to the kids who believe in their faith.
Absolutely. Well, listen, Ron, we appreciate you calling in this morning. We've been talking with Ron Weiser, who just made the announcement that he is officially a candidate for the University of Michigan Board of Regents in 2014. And, Ron, we appreciate you calling into the show this morning.
I've really been honored with you and Brian and allowing me on and to make this announcement for the first time here on your show.
Hey,
very good.
Thanks so much. Really appreciate it, and good luck. And I'm sure we're going to be talking to you a lot as this campaign unfolds.
Terrific. And, there's lots more things that we got to worry about, as you know, and we need to all work together to make sure that our conservative values can continue to be heard, not just at the U of M, but all the way across the state and in Lansing.
Well said. Thanks so much, and go blue.
Go blue. Take care. Bye-bye.
Hey, stick around. More to come. We are your Defending Fathers.